In this lesson, you will explore a fully built Power BI dashboard and understand how it's designed using features like bookmarks, buttons, slicers, report tooltip. You'll also learn how to create dynamic titles, reduce clutter, and apply design principles to build interactive, user-friendly reports. Let's dive in.
Open this link. You're going to arrive at this page. And then from here, go to Resource Center and Power BI Dashboard. Okay, so this is the dashboard. Explore it, spend 5 minutes, have a look at the report. Just explore the functionality that you see here. And then I will start to point out few things. Okay, so let's start from here. So remember, that's the completed report. Now I'm going to point out two things here. What design principle, the one that we have just discussed, are in use at a particular point, and what specific Power BI functionality and option we have used. What do you think is happening here? When I click on these, what specific option am I using to configure something like this? Slicers and bookmarks. Who was it? William. Bookmark is definitely there. So what I'm actually achieving in terms of design principle, it's intelligent use of real estate, right? Instead of having three small visuals and cramping it into a smaller place, I have three big visuals and one person can switch and have a look at the visual one at a time. It's an intelligent use of real estate. But what am I actually achieving? What options am I using? Bookmark is definitely one. And once you know how to use bookmark, you can do wonderful things in a report design, in terms of the report design. But there are few other tools that I have also used, which is I should know how to work with selection pane. I should know how to work with buttons because I'm also using buttons. I should also know how to work with layer order. I should also know how to do grouping and alignment. So these are all the specific names within Power BI, options and functions and tools and tabs that allows me to configure something like this. And this is where we will start. It will take some time, but once we have done it, it just allows you to practically make use of all these functions. And a lot of these functions will then be repeated in the rest of the course. So these are some of the buttons. Let's have a look at this thing. See this profit? It turns green if it's greater than 50%, and it turns red if it's less than 50%. What am I doing? Highlight KPIs or highlight important points. What function am I using? I'm sure everyone would know this one because we use this in Excel too. Which one is this?
Is there an if function?
No.
Conditional formatting?
Yes. Conditional formatting, right? We also have conditional formatting in Excel. Now, in Power BI, conditional formatting is a lot more extensive compared to Excel. I can conditionally format this color. I can conditionally format the background color. I can even conditionally format the text, right? So conditional formatting is a lot more flexible and a lot more extensive in Power BI. So this is conditional formatting. Okay, and then I have, right? You can also see I'm using these emojis. I also want you to pay attention to see how the spaces, there's a consistency in the spaces. The white space between the visual is consistent. What am I doing here? What is this thing? I think they sometimes cover it in Essentials course too. It's a slicer. It's a special slicer, and we call it Chiclet. It's a special slicer that you can use, and it allows you to display a picture with a name. It's a Chiclet slicer. I also want you to notice one more thing. See this title of the report? This is also dynamic. And I heard Nathan say quite a lot of things around titling and all that. So see this title of the report is dynamic. When you change a particular category, it changes. When you change year, it changes. When you change revenue, cost, and profit, it also changes. Try that. One of the common challenges you will face as a report developer is your consumer will get lost within the slicer. They will select multiple values in a slicer and they will come back to you and say, this report does not make sense and something is going on. When you will troubleshoot, you will realize that there is a slicer selected. So when you have a dynamic title, you can actually display it on the face, like this is what the report is showing. So just makes it harder for them to make a mistake. Slicer is the only way how your user can engage with the report. If you put too many slices, it's also not a good idea. Make sure that you are conservative in terms of how many slicers you want to give. Again, it's a trade-off. When you give too many slicers, it's flexibility. It it makes your report flexible so they can chop and change and slice and dice in a way that they would want. But at the same time, simplicity. You might compromise on simplicity of the report.
So, Ali, sorry, can I interrupt? Do people usually then put some sort of like a reset button? Like when I was playing with it, I clicked on a whole heap of stuff and got lost in it as well. So, is it good practice to put a reset button to get you back to the initial
I'm
stage?
seeing it more and more now. And you know what? We can actually do it. Once you know how to work with bookmarks, you can put your reset and you can put any button that you would want. I have seen that as a practice. You know what? In Power BI Service, there is already a reset button by default, but most people do not know it. And even if you tell consumers, they are going to forget it anyways. So it's a good idea to put a reset button somewhere on the page so they can actually click on it. But there is also a default reset button in Power BI Service. So however you are going to publish your report, that becomes the baseline. So whenever someone resets, all the slicer option comes back to the reset value.
Yeah, Ali, I just say quickly, I did the same. I got lost and I just pressed the refresh button, of the page to get back to where it was initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, there are not too many slicer anyways. I have one slicer, two slicer, and that's it. But what happens is when you click on it, it gives you this option, and then you can put like a little like reset button somewhere here. So when someone clicks on it, you can decide what are the default values. Your default value, you can say, okay, when someone presses reset, I want them to go back to revenue, 2016, and camping equipment. So it just takes back to them to reset every time.
So, in addition to the slices, when you click on some of those charts, it also filters out some of the data as well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like if you choose a country or something, then it only shows that country.
that is correct. Basically, this is your inbuilt interactivity across visuals. You can think of it as every visual also filters every other visual. You can turn it off if you want, but that's the default behavior. When I click on certain thing, it filters. And see this, hover over a country, and you can see how it breaks down your country sales into city sales. Any idea what this thing is? This is also an excellent feature within Power BI. This is not drill through, by the way. This is called report tooltip, right? Report tooltip. You have to configure it yourself. There is a standard tooltip when you hover over a certain thing. This is a standard tooltip. It comes automatically, and it depends upon what values do you have inside your visual. It comes automatically, but you can customize it based on your requirement. Now, see, this is also an intelligent use of real estate. So they start from a high level information, and then you allow them to break it down or just go to the next level of detail. Okay, coming back here. What am I doing at this point? How am I making this title dynamic? This is a dynamic title. Any guess? No guess. I'm using DAX. I'm using a DAX function here. And that function is, what function am I using? It's called selected value. This is the name of the function. What does this function do? It just captures the selected value of a slicer. That's all this does. When I select a value on a slicer, this function captures it. It captures this and it captures this. So I can use revenue 2017 and I can concatenate the text to create a title. That's what I'm doing. So remember the function. Selected value is the function we are going to use it to. It captures the selected value of a slicer and we can concatenate them with the text to create a title. Okay, so you have your revenue. Oops, you have your revenue. You have your 2017. Your camping selected value. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Right now, again, this could have been three different pages of a report. One for revenue, another for cost, another for profit. This is also a good use of real estate, so people do not have to switch back and forth across the pages and they can stay on the same page. If you have different KPIs and you want to use existing visuals to break it down, and it's also a good idea to use visuals that people understand. If you are in an organization where people are not very familiar with graphs and charts, and you start to use like radar chart, they will not understand. So use simple visuals like column chart, line chart, pie chart, easier to understand, and their minds does not have to switch across interpretation of different kind of visuals. So again, intelligent use of real estate. What is this object? This is a slicer. And again, I'm using a little bit of a DAX here. Everyone is aware of if, right? How you use if in Excel. I'm using if revenue is selected, use a formula of revenue. If cost is selected, use a formula of cost. If profit is selected, use a formula of profit. So I'm using nested ifs. There is a function called switch. If you come from SQL background, you also know something like case. Case, nested if, and switch is the same thing. Your switch is a sugar-coated version of nested if, just makes it easier to write. So a little bit of a DAX here too. Let's have a look here. See this revenue by top 3 retailer types. If you have 100 retailers, or you have 100 products, or 100 clients, or 100 suppliers, it's called very, very high number of values, right? Whenever you are displaying such information in a graph, it becomes too crowded. Let's say if you have categories greater than 10, I would say, your graph becomes crowded. Any graph you use a bar chart, column chart. One of the key things that you will do in a report is to make it less crowded. And one of the best ways of doing it is to just say, top 3 products or top 5 products or top 5 retailers or top 5 customers or top 5 clients. That's how you reduce the noise so you can pay attention to what is important. I hope you have heard about a Pareto principle, right? 20% of the customer accounts for 80% of the sales. 20% of the suppliers account for 80% of the spend. 20% of the product account for 80% of the sales. So it's not evenly distributed. So that's why this visual allows you to focus on what's important. And maybe that can be bottom, what are the top lowest selling product. So this allows you to reduce the noise. What am I doing? I'm using a special filter called top M. Sometimes they do cover it in Essentials, sometimes they don't. How many of you have heard about this thing? Because most of you have come through Essentials, no? So this is an excellent technique to make sense of something where you have too many categories. And this is again report tooltip. Now, as you can see, this could have easily been 5 pages of a report because I have revenue, cost, profit. I'm using this report tooltip to go and see more data. I have more visuals. So I have been able to pack quite a lot of information without making it too crowded. And even if this looks crowded, you can also reduce the number of visuals. Your techniques will still remain the same. So this is really the final product. We are going to start with a very blank file. We are going to build our way to this report. We are going to explore most of the functions that we have discussed, from bookmarks to buttons to themes. As you can see, we have some consistency in the colors, right? We have some consistency in the colors. Either you can do it visual by visual, or either you can do it by theme. Theme will just save you a lot of time. If you have theme colors, and you can have your theme colors which are as per your branding and your logo. Okay, so I think that was introduction. This is the report that we will start building now. I want you to open file. So once you have been able to download and open the file, just give me a thumbs up. It would be a good idea to explore the data model, explore the table view. Data is very similar to your essentials course. You have date, you have product line images. It's similar, it's not same. So you have few extra tables here. Explore the data model, and then your report page is basically empty, and that's what we will build today.